we understood yesterday, what we discussed. So you know that Docker is a container technology that runs on top of virtualization technology, and Docker uses a couple of few namespaces that are PID namespace, process isolation namespace, and networking namespace, which is used to isolate the container networking from the host networking. That means container has its own localhost, container has its own subnet mask, container has its own complete networking stack, Ethernet ports, MAC IDs. I think MAC IDs are not, but uh, other ones. Usually we can define a MAC ID, but usually MAC ID is the ID that is given by the manufacturer. I think, I'm not very sure. I think by the manufacturer, which is unique across the all manufacturers. Like process, inter-process communication is one of the namespaces that Docker uses. And C groups is a completely isolation technology developed by a couple of few open source community teams. I think it was led by Google, basically. So once you understand what is container, how containers were created, the evaluation of containers and all, then the next thing is we need to install Docker in our workstations or laptop machines, whatever you call. So Docker, installing Docker on Windows, you have to go to Docker Hub. The very first thing is you have to go to Docker Hub, and my recommendation is create a ID for Docker. Okay, go to Docker Hub, docker.com or hub.docker.com, hub.docker.io. You can type it online. So there, go there and create an ID for you. So that would be useful for you when you are creating your own images and pushing those images to the repository. Okay. That's what the main use of Docker ID. Because we are not using any private repositories, or we are not using. Sometimes we call it as R3 factory. We are not using any private repository or R2 factory for our purpose. We are completely using open source or free Docker Hub. Of course, it is free for public repositories, and they charge you when you are going to use private repositories. So, yes.
This I have a doubt. I have that Raspberry Pi and SD card with the Raspberry and Ubuntu. So I think can I download the same stuff there actually?
Yes, you can do it.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I don't think that I have to teach you how to install Docker on your machine. You're pretty experienced, and that's very easy stuff. And you can Google through. You can Google it and find it out how to install Docker on your machine. So once you install Docker on your machine, the very first thing is make sure that Docker is installed. How can you do that? So very basic thing is type Docker. Because I'm using Ubuntu, so there is a package manager called Snap. It is very easy for me. I just install Snap, install Docker Classic. So it installed me Docker. So, and it's pretty easy for me to work on Ubuntu. It's very easy for me to work on Docker in Ubuntu. But when you're using Windows systems, then as I told you, you have to enable all required components, and it will create a virtual machine for you. On top of the virtual machine, Docker creates everything, including the virtual machine, and make sure that Docker is installed with Docker daemon in Windows terminology, Docker service. will be running. So once you install Docker, you can type Docker, then you find all the various Docker commands. So the first commands you can see Docker builder, which is used to build Docker files. You can see that usually whenever you type any command, it tries to give you some help, even though you don't. And this is the latest thing, in olden days, explicitly you have to legacy commands. Explicitly you have to go and type Docker or any command followed by help. Like otherwise slash forward slash question mark in Windows. But I think nowadays fairly all command line interfaces try to provide you help as soon as you type Docker. Other thing is I want to know what version of Docker we are using. So it gives you some information. What is the client version? That means what kind of APIs that Docker is using. What is the version of client? What is the version of API? What Go version? Because Docker has been developed using Golang, so it tells you that using which version of Go that this particular Docker build has been compiled and the binary has been created. So when the build was made and what kind of operating system that client is working on, client is working on, and are there any experimental features? That means preview features or experimental features or something like they are not very stable. But if you are enthusiastic software engineer, you want to do some research on that, you can always go and enable experimental stuff and check what are the new things that come along with this build. And when we go to Docker server, Docker has a client and server. The daemon is usually we call it as server, and the client is a separate program that tries to connect to the daemon. You can see that Docker engine, the version is 19.3.03.11. API version is 1.40, Go version, and all the details are given here. This is what actually in the private Docker version. They give very extended information because it's quite big software. That's what yes.
So when I type the Docker version, I am getting only client and client. That's it. There is an error also showing actually.
That means it's not installed properly.
But it is when I see Docker, it is giving me the commands and everything. And you run the Docker before checking this?
No, you don't need to run Docker before checking that. And tell me what operating system you are using. Which operating system?
Windows.
Check it. We will check it later on. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is what the very basic step is. Writing. For example, if you are writing any programming language, hello world is the very first step when you are writing any programming language. The same way that Docker also gives. I told you that Docker repository has so many containers that were developed and deployed by many companies. Okay. So very basic first container in general people uses BusyBox. BusyBox is a container that gives you very clean, very lightweight operating system. If you want to really experiment on BusyBox, you can go to BusyBox, you can install BusyBox. I'm talking about container. You can get into the BusyBox and see what kind of stuff it has. So, I want to create a container. I don't want to write my own container. There are, I think millions of containers already available in Docker. Possibly millions, I'm not very sure. But for sure there are thousands. So there are so many number of containers are available. So first I want to pull BusyBox. I want to tell you that I want to let you know that how to pull an image from Docker Hub, from Docker, and how to run that image. It's all called images. How to run that image. That means pulling an image is not creating a container. Pulling an image is something that you are going to the repository and fetching all the files that are required to create a container. Those files are packed as an image. That's what image is. Image contains all required files for to create a container. So you can see that Docker pull is the command. Docker followed by a pull command. There is a space between that. As you know that in general all commands are separated by space. Docker pull, and the name of the container is the name of the image is BusyBox. You might have a doubt that how do I know that there is container called BusyBox. So you have to go to Docker Hub and check various containers. You want to install Ubuntu, you have to go and check what all Ubuntu containers are available. You want to check Alpine. Alpine is a kind of a very lightweight, very lightweight container. You want to check Alpine. You can go and check what are Alpine. It's all you need to keep on checking that what are new containers. Let's say that you want to install PostgreSQL. Let's say you have to go and check that any PostgreSQL container is available. 99.9% all the vendors are creating Docker containers. It has become a de facto these days. So I am trying to use BusyBox. I just said that Docker pull BusyBox. It's going to Docker, and every version of the container has a tag. You know specific versions of containers. You can always say, let's say that I want Ubuntu 18.11 or 18.6, something like that. You have to explicitly say that Docker pull Ubuntu colon some tag. You want always pull latest tags. That means just built and deployed. If you know that what is the latest, you don't need to give explicitly anything. But when you are running on the project, you have to be very careful that always you are working on the same version of container. That because already your project is working on let's say that Alpine 3.1, you should not go and pull Alpine latest, which is 4.1. There may be some discrepancies in the versions, and your project may not work. Again, you have to go debug and do other stuff. So to avoid that, sorry, always go and pull proper tag. But here, this is our first image I am trying to pull, so I don't want to explicitly say that Docker pull anything. You want to see that what kind of images are available for BusyBox. You can always check Docker search BusyBox. So you can see that on the name of BusyBox, these many containers are available. So somebody has, these are all the names that these are the IDs. Somebody has already created BusyBox. AMD has created a BusyBox. ARM processor, they have created a BusyBox. You can see ARM62 version 8, they have created a BusyBox. Usually this is what our latest mobile phones are on. AR7, they have BusyBox. Like that, there are some are official images. BusyBox official image is this. These are all other images that somebody has created. You want to be very, but if you want to be, you want to fetch very particular version, then you have to go into the Docker Hub, search what all BusyBox versions are available, and you have to pull it like this: BusyBox colon tag. Here it is. The tag is latest, but later on you can specify a tag, whatever, whichever the tag they give you inside the documentation. So now we pull the BusyBox image. So you want to see what kind of images are available. You have to type Docker images. It gives you all the list of images that were pulled or that were created even in your system by you. You can see that the latest image, each and every image has a name of the repository, the first one, and the tag. Here we are using the latest tag and an image ID. This image ID is a UUID. So I don't think it is a UUID. It's not a universal unified identity. It's some kind of an ID. It ensures that Docker ensures that it will not be repeated at least in your system. And this particular build was created 10 days ago, and the size of it is just 1.23 MB. Can you believe that? 1.23 MB means you can even install, copy this image to a floppy drive, which is of 1.44 MB, I think, if I'm not wrong. Because I think you guys might have, we guys are, even we work with floppy drives. Isn't it, Naveen?
Yes.
Yeah. So 1.44 was the size of the floppy drive. So this is 1.23 MB, that is even smaller than the floppy drive. Right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So usually BusyBox is nothing but an operating system. Okay. It may not have all packages, but still it is an operating system. That means we pulled an operating system from the Docker repositories. Right. Now we have the operating system. We have to create a container from that image. So whenever you are using particular image or particular container, either you can use the name or you can use the image ID. If the first two characters of the image ID is not repeated, you can use even only first two characters. That's what, because these are all practices. I saw somebody was doing that, and I understood that, oh my god, you don't need to always go and copy the entire image ID. You can go and use just first two characters. Only provided that this particular two characters are not repeated. For example, you bring another Alpine, by chance Docker creates that Alpine image with the first two characters. F4 starts with F4, F0, then it gives an error. But in general, it doesn't do that. But I have seen some issues with that. So this is what the BusyBox image. I think you are very clear about what is an image. Sometimes we may get some hidden images, the layers of the image. I'll tell you what are layers. If you want to see what are the layers of the image, you have to use -a. -a is nothing but all. All means fetch everything from Docker. Fetch everything from Docker if the image is active or inactive. Irrespective of, sometimes it uses a dangling image. Dangling image means one of the layers of the image may not have the name of the repository. So it is called dangling image. It gives as none or null. I think none. It gives as none. So we may have to see actually why our application, our image is not working. What happened to the image at the time? You can go and type Docker images -a. If I want to delete my image, okay, later on we will do how to delete the image. The next thing is I want to create a container from the image. How do we create a container from the image? Docker run. Let's go and type what are the different options it has. You can see that numerous options are there for Docker run. It is really very difficult to go and understand each and every option. Each and every option they give. So the best thing is you can go and see what you want. You can see help. You can put initialize when you are creating any image. If you want any initial step, you can give. You can give an IP address to the image. You can give. You can remove the image, or you can put a volume to the image. You can see what kind of user that can log into the image. You can see TTY. TTY is teletyping. This is very important for standard input and output. And I means interactive. This is used to interact with that particular container. And the very important thing is you can give how much quota of your CPU for that particular container. Let's say that you have 16 core CPU, but I want to give from one core only 1% of my CPU to this particular container. You can do that. Okay, you can give memory. My RAM has, my system, my machine has this much of RAM. I want to give only, some part of my RAM for this particular container. That you can do. That's how the billing of and that's how they bill. I mean, cloud companies, cloud providers, they bill us based on the cycles, number of cycles of CPU and the memory that we use for particular issues. This is an extraordinary thing. You can go and give this container only some certain amount of memory, whatever is required. So this is how the Docker run command is. I'm going to create a container. Docker run. I said I is one of the options. It is interactive. That means I'm going to interact with the container. And the other thing is T is teletyping, telemetry typing or something to the container. And then I'm going to create a container from an image. So for that I have to give the image name. So you know that either you can give image name or image ID. I think the first two characters of the image ID is F0. Otherwise you have to go and check that Docker images. Then you have to check there and do that. Followed by a command. That means when your container starts, at the time when your container is going to be started, while creating image, there is an entry point. That means a default the command. Generally the default command would be bash. That means the command, and whatever the terminal I'm seeing, we can call it as bash, or /bin dot /sh. That is also the same thing as shell. That means as soon as you create a container, automatically it gets into the shell. Or you don't want your container to get into the shell, just it has to run your application and exit. That also you can do. So here I don't want to give any command as such. The reason is already the entry point for this particular image might be shell. How do we know that? How do we know that what is the entry point of that particular image? That I'll show you later on. Right. So now a container has been created already. I am already inside the container. You can see that I get inside the container. You go pwd, that means present working directory. You can see that I am at the root folder. You can put ls, list of the files list. You can see that there is bin dev, etc. home, processes, the root folder, system related files, temporary folder, user related things, and where folder.
What is the ls command?
ls is the list command. In generally in Windows world we use dir.
Okay.
Okay. So if you want to work with containers, precisely into cloud native related stuff, you should know Unix. At least the basic Unix commands. Otherwise, it's really hard to get and understand, because you're going to run all your applications in Linux. That is how the cloud works. No more. That's one of the reasons most of the companies are providing Linux and MacBooks nowadays, not Windows laptops. The reason is MacBooks run on top of Unix. Linux also it runs on top of Unix. So the entire file system, the way how they communicate, the inter-procedure calls, everything is Unix based. That's very important. Windows has very less role here to play. That's the reason when Windows captured, Windows wanted to capture Linux market in containerization and bring it to Linux more than Windows, more than Microsoft Windows. So this is an operating system actually. This is a very lightweight operating system, and you are inside the operating system. If you close this, can you see this? Then I type docker ps. Docker ps is a command that lists you list of the containers. So we have already created a container. Container ID is something that is created by Docker engine, and you know that the image that we are using is F4, F0 image, and the default command was sh, and this particular container was created 2 minutes ago, and this container has been running for the past 2 minutes. This container doesn't have any ports exported. For example, you are running a web application, you want to run your web application on a container, then you have to enable the port, but here this is just a container, so it doesn't have any ports. And the other thing is names. Docker randomly picks some name for the containers if the name is not provided by you. There is an option that we can always provide a name. We can always give a name to a Docker container. That is the best approach, because you know that what kind of name that your container has, which name that your container has. If you don't give, Docker creates container ID and the name as well. The names are generally some random names, some funny names. It's actually use smile at all if you don't really use smile when you don't explicitly create a name and see the names that Docker gives. So if you want to see what containers are there, you can type docker ps. It gives you. I tell you why there are hidden containers. That means the containers that were stopped. Here the container is not stopped. The reason is already I am inside the container. I can type ls, I can go to bin directory, I can see what all commands that are available for this. So there is a command called who is, so it gives you details. Okay, there is a command called this. In generally in bin directory you can see all the commands. There is a command called mkdir hello that creates a hello directory. Here you can see hello. If you want to remove that, you can go and type hello. So they say that hello is a directory, so you can put hello. You can go here, create a directory. The hello is created. If you want, you can see vi is available. Vi is typing something.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
I can't see your screen.
There might be some problem with you. Chandra, can you see my screen?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm able to see.
You can see that I have created some file. So sorry, spelling. Same file. And I
I can
created
see your video. I can see you, sir, but I cannot see you.
Can you exit the call and join back? There seems to be some problem.
Okay. Now it came.
Now it came. I think some problem with your. Do one thing, Ji, just stop your video. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you can stop your video.
Then come back.
No need to come back. You can stop your video and just follow the class. Video in the sense, even
Camera.
camera. Your reduces your bandwidth. Okay, so you know that you can get into the container and you can do many things. And I want to see what is this operating system. Basically, I want to see that what kind of operating system this is. I join host, profile, tab, network, password, shadow, root. The operating system itself is, I think, BusyBox. The name of the operating system itself is BusyBox. Okay. So you know that I can copy move my file, same file to home directory. Now I go to home directory. Sorry. Okay. Now I go to home directory. I can see the same file there. If I want to see cat command, same file I can see whatever I have written in that. Like that. You can do anything with your operating system. If you have to know that how to compile packages in Linux. That's very important. For example, if particular package is not there, let us say the curl command. Curl is a command. What it does is it goes and fetches web-related data. That means it goes and fetches or it executes HTTP requests. You know that, right? Yeah. If you don't have the curl command, that means curl is not found. You have to go and understand that how to install curl. How to install curl in your operating system. our advanced, very heavyweight operating systems like Ubuntu and all, they give you kernel and wget and most of the commands. But if you want to run your when you want this very lightweight operating system, they may provide you very little, very few commands. Kernel and wget and advanced commands may not be available. So you should know that how to go compile the command and install in your operating system. I'm going to exit from this operating system, just type exit. So I came back to my host operating system. You see that now when I type docker ps, we cannot see any containers. The reason is container has stopped working because the container we have created it runs only on SH. We did not tell anything to the container that what it has to do. As long as you are interactive, you are interacted to your container, it runs well. But when you exit from your container, it doesn't work. For example, you are creating a web application. There is a web server or self-hosted .NET RESTful service, a web service. Generally, these web services, they don't stop much. Once you start a web service, it will not be stopped unless it is crashed by some XYZ reasons. But in general, web services are not crashed, not stopped. So if your application is running as a web service, that means the entry point of your application is a web service. Then your container will not be stopped. So how do you know that the container is stopped, but there is a container already created? Show me all containers. -a is the command. It gives you all containers. I can restart my container. Simple docker start A0 you can give, or you can even give the name. So I give A0. Here the container is started. You can see that.
What is A0, sir?
A0 is name of the container.
So you put only one BusyBox container, correct?
I did not pull container, I pulled the image.
Sorry. And you created a container for that by using F0. Then what is A0?
Are you able to see my screen?
No,
Yes.
that is a container ID. We can give just the first two characters that are unique.
Yeah, that is correct. But where did you create some container with starting with A0?
No, if
I
you see
have
the
not-
name
Yeah, please.
A0, F4, A9, 5B, F3, 5C.
I cannot see that.
No,
Yes. Yeah, I have seen that. Probably when I lost the connection, you might have created it.
yeah, maybe. Instead of the full name, we can use the first two characters.
Okay. Got it. Now I can see that. Yes.
Yes. So you don't need to give for entire Docker, you don't need to give IDs actually. You don't need to give image ID, you don't need to give container ID. Container IDs, image IDs, or network IDs, or volume IDs, whatever the IDs generally used in Docker. Those are all created by Docker engine.
Okay.
So you create those IDs. Those are all created by Docker engine. So you don't need to create all those containers.
Jitu,
You can, yeah,
how we can check this? Just now we created this container, right?
once. Tell me once again, can you please repeat?
So just now we created this container A0, right?
Yes.
So how we can check this container specification, like we talked about previously, the RAM and size and everything.
Yes. So Docker has a command called Docker inspect. Okay. We can inspect any Docker object. These are all called objects. Here I'm going to inspect Docker container, then I can type Docker inspect A0. Here it gives you all the information about the container. A0 is the name of the container. This is the ID that has been created by Docker, created on so-and-so date. The path, the default path is message. There are no arguments I have passed. And the state of this container is running. It's not paused. It's not restarting. Currently, this is the process ID of that particular container. Okay, and this is the image name, and this is the image location where this image file is there. Resolve path. This is a resolve file. And host name path is this one, host path is this one, log path. This container gives you all the logs. What happened when you start a container, all the logs are here. Okay, here you can see that the network driver is overlay 2, that is the name of the network. The platform is Linux. Same way, if you come here,
I think memory 0.
yeah, right now it is not using any memory of that particular CPU, or it's not even using any CPU cycles, so it has given 0.
Yeah.
Here you get all the details of that particular container.
Yeah.
If your container is extensively running, okay, then you can go and check Docker inspect. You can see all the details of the particular container. When you go to network settings, it's using bridge network actually by default, but it's a default name and it's not using any ports. The gateway of this particular gateway, that means the basic IP address of this particular container is this, entire Docker region uses this, and particular IP address of this particular container, the specific container is this one. This is the IP range. So MAC ID address is this. Usually this might be the host ID address, and you get all the details of this. This is all you can get. The command is Docker inspect, followed by, let us say I want to inspect my image. This is Docker inspect image. So this is the ID, and it fetched from BusyBox this particular ID. There is no parent for this. This is the parent. Okay, this is the host name. This is the address environment. Variables are inside this particular image of this. This is the command that they are providing. What I said is entry command. When you run the container, by default this command runs. SH. This is very important. You should know what is the default command. Based on that, you can pass the arguments. So there are image layers. We will talk about what are image layers later. This is how you can see. You want to see the overall information of the Docker. Docker info is the command. It gives you the whole information about Docker. Earlier, we have seen Docker version, right? Yeah. Here, how many containers are running inside Docker? How many containers were created? How many are running? Pass, stop. How many images are there? What is the server information? What is the file system that it is using? And what is the C group driver? C groups are very important. What kind of network it has? It has different network drivers. They are bridge network, host network, IP VLAN, MAC VLAN. These are all very important when you want to connect your containers with other containers. It's the architecture is this one. I have 8 core i8 CPUs available because I'm running on Linux, so it has, and my total RAM is 30 GB is already available for this. My laptop has 32 GB RAM. So okay, it has this much of RAM. And the name of my laptop is this. Like that, what is localhost, which address it is connected to localhost. It gives you the required details about that overall details, the summary of your Docker.
Jitu, can we get like Windows images also here?
We cannot get any Windows images here. If you want to run Windows image, you have to go to Docker desktop and enable that. Enable Windows containers, but here we won't get.
Okay.
Because Docker will be working this particular Linux Docker. Basically, Docker was created for Linux.
Okay.
Later on, Windows has added so many things for Docker and made it available for the Windows. They have created Windows containers as well. The containerization technology for Windows recently created, I think. This particular containerization is there in 2000s, but it was made available as containers, I think recently 2010 or 11 something like that. So you know that now you know a couple of commands, few commands, Docker info, Docker images, Docker hidden images, Docker containers, Docker hidden containers if at all, Docker inspect, either if it is a container you can give A0, Docker, if it is an image you have to give image ID, and Docker run command to create a new container. So I have one container of this particular BusyBox. Now I want to create one more container of the BusyBox, of the same BusyBox. I can run a number of containers as and when I want. So I can create Docker run, and I key is for interactive. That means it gets take you into the container and you can run it. Instead of that, I can give you ID. And I told you that we can give even a name to our container, as Docker creates its own funny names. If you want, you can name your container by using hyphen name. Let's say that box 1 is the name of the container, and you have to follow by the image ID. The image name or ID, I'll give image name. And then it is followed by the command that you want to run. Okay. Always remember that it does what you instruct, what you have instructed it to do. If you don't give anything, it runs its default command, which is SH. Each container has its own entry point, so not for all containers it uses SSH. For this particular busy box it uses SSH. SSH is nothing but shell, like the CMD in Windows 12. So Docker run IT, name of the container is box1 and the name of the image is busy box. If you want, you can give even the image ID for readability purpose. I give image name. And here I am not going to give any command as SSH because SSH is a default command. But I want to print something. I want to execute some other command. I don't know whether there is any sleep related command or there is something. We know that all Linux systems there is something called echo command. Echo is a command. What it does is it prints what it echoes back what we wanted to print. So we want to print the particular text that is my default text I use to print. So I want to print the text. Echo hello Durga is the text I want to print. Then what it does is inside the container it prints this text. That means we are explicitly telling that to print echo command after the sh command. That means general it does like this, but sh is already a default command. So what I said is go and print echo command, docker run IT, name is box1 and print this command. That's what it does. So first one is docker run is creating container, IT is interactive, teletype type or teletype, and name of the container is box1 and the image is busy box, and followed by that is the name of the command, how it goes. Usually if you say that in Linux it gives you back. What we try to echo, it gives you back. So I say hey, it gives you back hey. Same way. For example, this is, I don't want to run this echo, you want to run your .NET application, the binary has been already created by you. Then you need to give the path of your .NET application inside your container. Remember that. That means if your container is Linux 64-bit processor, you have to compile your application to that. There are a couple of ways for that. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you later. Let's go this way. So I type docker ps, but you see that there is only one container. The reason for that is this particular container I have created, it existed. Because what I said is print that command and come out. Or explicitly I have exited that command by getting into this particular shell. Let's create, let's see any hidden commands. You can see that there is a hidden, there is a stopped or paused container. You can see that. Busy box is name of the image, and box1 is the name of container I gave. It's not nothing like this one. Referent CR, it's not just box1 the name I gave. I want to start back to my container, docker start box1. Again, I couldn't see anything here. Docker start box1, that means I said that start that container, but I did not say that. I did not say anything like outstream. Outstream means when you say about console printing something, console is nothing but outstream. Okay, you are printing something on the console is nothing but outstream. Outstream. Printing is something called outstream. So here I did not say anything. I just said that start my web container, and it was started and it was stopped. The reason is it was started and stopped. The reason is the command that it uses is this. It started. It's a echo hello Durga, just print that inside the container. I am not trying to get container output outside. You can see that. If I want the output of the container to my host, then I need to say that -i. Hyphen is nothing but interactive. What it does is it outstreams the output of your container. The output of your container is this one. It came back from my container. For example, it is your web service. You wrote so many logs for your web service. Then all the logs will be printed here. Anything that happens inside your web service, whatever you say, it comes here. Somebody has connected to your web service. For example, you wanted to mention as a log, then it comes here. Docker has logging system as well. So when I want to know that what are the logs that this container has created, what are the logs inside that particular container, each and every outstream inside the container will be a log. So 3 times I have started. Okay. 3 times I have started. So 3 times it printed that particular text. I could see that particular text. So you got that right? What I'm trying to say?
Sir, this hello Durga is that is one of the output from the BusyBox operating system.
Yes, that is one of the outputs from the BusyBox operating system.
Okay.
That means I executed a command inside BusyBox.
Okay.
The command is nothing but printing something on the terminal.
Okay.
You got it, right?
Yes, I got it.
So Chandra, you have any doubts so far? Don't get into the advanced topics, but so far whatever we understood that, do you have any doubt?
No.
I have 2 questions.
Yes.
So you told that when we exit that container, we will lose the data, correct?
Yes, we will lose the data.
So how you got hello Durga again? You should have lost that, correct?
I have got hello Durga again by getting the logs of the container. Logs are nothing bad. Logging something is nothing bad. You are outstreaming that particular container. Okay, let us say that hello dot print hello console dot write line hello. That means you are telling the console that print this particular thing. It is that outstream. Okay.
No. Jiten here, but the container is still running, but it is not active, right?
The container is not running.
Okay, I mean this one not dead.
Container is dead.
Oh, it's not running means it is dead.
There are a couple of states for the container. You can see that. So we told that the path is echo and the argument will be passed is this and the status is exited. So container is there. Container is not dead. You can see that. The container is not dead. But it exited.
Yeah, this means last time we discussed, if the container dead only, we will lose the data, right?
Yes. If the container is dead, then we will use the data. Data means that is entirely different actually.
Okay.
Data means logs will be stored inside inside Docker engine.
Okay.
But if you want to store any file and all, yes, the container is dead, then you don't get anything else.
Okay.
Sir, did you bind this log data to your PC?
I have not bind this data to my PC. It's a facility that Docker gives.
Okay, so that means, for example, instead of hello world, I have some temperature reading. Okay, so I was looking into that, and suddenly the container got exited. So if I type Docker that temperature example log, means it will give all the previous values.
If you log the data, it gives. If you don't log the data, it will not.
So that means, so where did you give that command to log actually?
Docker log and name of the container.
So that means once we executed that Docker, that command something, that PS or something, you run the command for the container, then immediately you have given some command like log the data, something like that.
See, you should know actually what is called logging here. In general, logging is storing data somewhere. Okay. So there are so many ways to store the data. There are so many ways to output the data. Sorry, I'm very sorry. It's not storing. Logging is nothing but outputting the data.
Okay.
When you type like this, what does it mean? You want to
Get hello. Yeah.
You want to outstream, that is called outstream. You want to send the data to console.
Okay. Correct.
Okay, I don't know. I mean, got it very well now. Let us say write file. That means you are writing the data to a file.
Okay, correct.
Okay, so log is always according to Docker. Log is anything that is outstreamed to the console.
Okay.
Actually, in Unix world, there are some streams. Where you are going to write the data. Anything that is written to the console, or anything that is you can see the man page. What is this man page means the help of that particular thing. Echo display a line of text. What echo does? Echo is displaying a line of text. And you can see that echo displays the standard output. The standard output can be a terminal, can be a file, can be your web service, can be anything else. So anything that is written to standard output, that is considered as a log according to Docker.
Oh, okay. So that means the command echo what you have given, it has the logging functionality also.
It writes to the standard output.
Yes. So yeah, now I know. So you have given something echo, some hello world, something like that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now understood, sir. That was my doubt.
So we have one container. Now I'm going to kill the container. I'm going to destroy the container. Remove the container. The command that we use is docker rm and name of the container is A0. So what it said is error response from daemon. That means Docker. You cannot remove a running container. If the container is running, you cannot remove it. That's the logic that it is in place. Docker stop. You can stop a container explicitly. A0. Now you can see that the container is stop. Docker stop followed by the container name. So Docker rm I'm going to remove the container. It got removed. Now I am going to remove another container which is called box1. It got removed. Now I want to see the logs. Let us see.
Yeah.
There is no container at all to see the logs. Logs are displayed only for the live containers, not for the. That is the reason always whenever Docker fetches all the logs, those logs are usually stored to some logging mechanism. Let us say the logging mechanism called Splunk-DB or Flink-DB. There are so many logging Amazon, Azure, Logwatch. There are so many logging mechanisms, persistent logging mechanisms. So they store all the logs to there. Otherwise, you can write logs to some file. But Docker keeps the logs as long as the container is alive. If the container is dead, nothing is available for that particular container.
So that means before the container was stopped actually or paused.
Yes.
Okay.
No, there is a separate procedure for that. You can see that Docker info. You can see something like you can see that log. So there are some log drivers for Docker. These are all log drivers. If you want, you can use these log drivers. Splunk is a company that maintains logs. You can see that Splunk. It's a very big company.
Okay.
You can send all the log. Already some drivers that plugins are already Docker provide. Okay. Syslog is something. That means all the logs are by default stored in syslog. So somewhere in Linux, you can see how to see. You can see that. I don't remember the command. You can go and see that how to see the syslog. Okay. These are all the drivers, plugins that Docker provide. For example, if Docker is running on AWS, automatically all these logs are stored in the AWS logs. If it is running on Azure, usually Azure uses Flunk-DB. Flunk-DB is a logging mechanism. JournalDB. These are all the files. Even you can store logs in JSON file. This is how we have to enable these plugins for Docker. We will see later on how to do these plugins. As of now, we know how to create an image. We know how to create a container. Now, getting to images. Now I want to delete my image as well. As long as the image is available inside your Docker, any number of times you can create your container, it will not fetch from the repository. If the image is deleted, Docker rm is to delete the container, or I is to delete the image.
RMI
Now, for deleting image.
Okay. So can we keep multiple images at the same time?
You can keep a number of images.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I forgot. What is the command to create a container? Docker. Docker run or run?
Run.
Jitu,
Docker run.
copy paste this one into the messages. Then you can easily copy.
Yeah, that is good. What I do is, I have a S3 file, I copy this and send it. Okay?
Okay.
Are you talking about the commands, sir?
Yeah, all my comments are there in the history file, bash history. Yeah, all the commands I have used are there in my bash history. I'll send it. Right? So now I'm again going to pull another busy box.
Jitu, if any container is running, can we delete images?
Yes. We cannot delete.
Oh,
No, we can delete. We can delete.
okay.
We can force delete. Let us see, check that. I exactly don't know that.
Okay.
Okay. We will check it. Because it will ask you that it cannot delete. Okay. What it does is we have to force delete.
Okay.
So force delete is something that I will tell. Docker pull busy box. Here there is one thing. Instead of I go pull my image and then run as a container, I can directly do that. Docker run IT box 1 busy box. It checks that particular image is available locally. If not, it goes and pull that image. Unable to find image locally, so it's going to Docker repository and fetch that image, and automatically, as soon as the image got downloaded, it gets into the container. I go to another shell now. Docker images, I got one image. Docker PS, I got some container. Because the container is already running, I am inside the container. What I do is, I go and try to delete the image. Docker RMI busy box. It said that container is already using it, so it cannot delete particular busy box. So Docker RMI, we can force delete anything, either container or either a container or an image. You can force delete. F force delete -F busy box. So it got deleted forcefully, but still my container is running. That means again if I want to create one more container,
Again, we need to pull image, right?
yes.
So otherwise, can we duplicate this existing image, the existing container?
We cannot duplicate this container.
Oh,
Because container has its own file system. Container has, but we can create an image from the container.
okay.
We can create an image from the container locally, and we can use that image as well.
Okay.
There are some commands for the create a vehicle. But if you want to create a container, you need to have an image.
Okay. So there is a dependency always while creating the
Yes, if you
container.
want to. Yes.
Should have the image.
Yes. That image can be from Docker Hub or from your local
Yeah.
system or even from your private repository that your organization maintains. Who are Docker Hub, DevOps, Azure, DevOps.azure.com, dev.azure.com. There are so many container repositories, image repositories based on your organization you can use. In general, for all public things, we can use Docker.
No.
For example, I want to remove box 1. It says that it cannot remove because that box 1 is not stopped. Either we have to stop the container or we can forcefully delete the container. See that it exited. This is box 2, not box 1. RMI. This is this. So now we know that how to create a container, how to create an image, how to create a container from that image, and all related stuff with respect to Docker. Now, the next step is, so you know that what is Docker inspect does,
Yeah.
what is Docker log, Docker logs, what is Docker info. Yes, G.
This is good. Actually, I am typing parallelly also when you teach. Sir, how can I come out from box to busy box? Because it is like echo Naveen and then it is giving Naveen back. But how can I come back to that C users in Gopal 6 or something like that?
Control C.
Control C.
Yes.
It is not taking actually.
No, I didn't get you actually. So you are inside the.
Just let me show you that actually 1 second. Where is the camera? Yeah.
You have to use. No. You have to see that present.
Oh no, because that is on my laptop. Can you see this, sir?
That's what I'm telling you. If it is in your laptop, you can present.
No, I am using this one on my mobile actually.
Oh, okay. I cannot see.
Okay, so
it's not very clear.
It is not clear. Like, can you see this now?
Type exit.
Exit? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yes, correct. Got it. Yes, sir. Done.
So now the other thing is how to create Docker files. Creating Docker files is nothing but creating your own command, your own Docker image. That means, for example, you are creating your project. You have heard of Dictionary, you heard of continuous integration and continuous delivery, right?
Yes.
There are three things. One is continuous integration. The second one is continuous
Deployment.
deployment. And the third one is continuous delivery.
Okay.
Okay. Usually people say for deployment and delivery, CD, but actually deployment and delivery are entirely different.
Yeah.
So you are running a project, you have created a project, you make some changes in the project, you commit that project, then you create a pull request
Okay.
and you merge your project to master.
Yeah.
Generally, if continuous integration is in place, what it does is it checks, it build your unit tests and it checks that there are no build errors. It compiles your project, it builds your project and ensure that there are no build errors.
Yes.
That is what continuous integration means.
Yes.
The next thing is continuous delivery. What that continuous delivery does is it picks up your Docker file. That means for continuous delivery, there must be Docker file in place.
Okay.
Or some organizations they automatically create Docker files.
Okay. Yeah.
DevOps is
In Azure we call as artifacts.
artifacts.
Yes.
So it creates a Docker file. From the Docker file, where you are going to deploy your application, or where you are going to deliver your application.
Yeah.
It creates a Docker file and it creates a container and it deploys the container to the cloud. That is what the process is. So here we have done so far creating, executing, or creating containers from the third party provided files. Okay. We have not created so far containers from our own Docker files. My project has my own Docker file, so we have not created any containers from our own Docker files. So that we will check it. Yeah. I just want to take a break for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Then we will come back at 11:40.
Yeah.
Sir,
Naveen ji, we will come back at 11:40.
11:40. What is the time there now?
Here it is 11:30.
Oh, you want rest? Okay, no problem.
10 minutes.
No problem, sir. Good.
Yeah. We'll come back in 10 minutes.
Yeah.